New Horizon aircraft. I am so excited about this one. We have a lot to go over, but before we even go into why this company is special, where they're at right now, and why I think this is a really, really great point, I want to show you where and how this stock has just jumped up in price. So real quick, two major key milestones have happened. On May 15th, New Horizon Aircraft achieved its historic transition in full forward flight, which is what you just saw right here. May 15th, this just came out, this video, and this news was huge. The stock shot up. We're going to show you that in a minute. And then here, we have on June 13th, they partnered with MT Propeller. Who even is MT Propeller? They are, like world-class, I guess, in propellers. I honestly never heard of this company. Let's be real, you probably haven't either, but this was huge news, and this made the stock go up as well. They obviously, they make good propellers, but this website is horrible. I've never seen a website like this, my goodness. But let's look at the numbers a little bit here. Okay, I was looking at Archer. Let's take a look at HOVR. So HOVR's not been around for too long. It's actually IPO'd at about $10. I don't know why Robinhood's not showing the full thing here, but let's look at the year to date. Actually, let's look at 3 months, because this is where it all happened. Right here, May 15th, as you can see, HOVR was just kind of hovering around this 50-cent range, and boom, on May 15th, we shot up from, 47 to 60 cents. Pretty big gain. As you can see, this is a big candle, but this is only where it started. From here, we just kept shooting up and up and up because the news was great. This is the first full transition flight from a hybrid electric vehicle. There has been a few, but they've all just been through electric vehicles. Let me just show you a quick graph here. I'm going to go over all this stuff in a minute, but these are, just a quick comparison of what companies have actually achieved this milestone, and I think this is huge. All right, first of all, Airbus in 2019, let's put that aside, a little irrelevant. Archer, you guys know Archer. Archer had a plane called Maker, now they have the Midnight, and that achieved full flight in 2022, it appears, December of 2022, and I was looking at the chart because, well, once they achieved full flight, December 2022, it's literally only been up from there. Here, if we look, let's see, there's this, let's look at the 5-year, 2022, here we go. This right here, boom, December of 2022, you can see we hit an absolute low, about 160-ish range, and everything was up from there, ever since they proved that, their thing flies and it works. However, this was the older model, the Archer Maker. Now they just, they have a new Midnight plane, and they literally just right now, July 3rd, had their first completed flight in Abu Dhabi it was. And well, this is just crazy to me. Since 2022 till 2025, they've only had another successful flight. I think that's pretty crazy, and the company's worth $6 billion. But when we were in 2022, let's look at the numbers a little bit and why this is really interesting to me. Archer was at 40 to 600, $500 million market cap at that low. And, the share price doesn't matter too much. Let's say it's about the same share price, but Horizon's only at 50 million market cap. They had their one prototype, the Maker. They had no other planes. Horizon also has only one prototype, the Caveret X7, and it's in active testing, and it's actually, achieved flight recently in May 15th. Just like the Maker did, it actually did in November 29th of 2022. But it was all about the hype here. I like this takeaway right here. The momentum. Horizon's momentum is more technical and operational. They actually have, a flying plane, the wing transition. So what's unique about them is their hover, their wings are, inside the plane, which also looks really cool when you close out the wings. I don't know if I should play this because, well, I took the audio down because, well, I don't want to get banned or something, like copyright strike. But yeah, those fans and wings are a completely new, innovative thing, and really what sets them apart and what makes this milestone really, really big, because no one's ever achieved flight with fan and wings in an electric vertical takeoff landing plane, right? But this achieved it going forward. That's the milestone here. Now I know we're bouncing around a lot, but what I really wanted to show you here was how HOVR exploded. We have that May 15th one right here, and then we have here June 13th. Look at this huge candle up. We went as high as $3 actually. It doesn't show it here. It's kind of crazy. I don't know why these candlesticks aren't working well. I remember this day actively. We hit $3 twice, right here and then maybe right here, or the next day right here. Yeah, these are really, really weird that Robinhood has these inaccuracies, but I remember this vividly. I wasn't buying stock then. I was probably considering selling. I was a little worried, but I'm just holding. I'm holding. As you can see, I got an average here of 57 cents. I'm up quite a lot. I mean, this was lower. This has been, dollar cost averaging upwards now, to be honest. But I think right now we're not going to go any lower than this. Honestly, we have this strong EMA here. So, we could maybe hit the 120 and bounce from there. But I don't think this is coming down any lower than where we're at. I mean, if you look at Archer's chart, from December, from the full flight, it literally did not hit that again. I think here December, we had it maybe hit again here in May, and then almost never again we had here in September of 2024. Pretty big low. However, this is a company at billions in market cap. They were supposed to build a facility, a factory in 2024. I don't know, maybe I know they did kind of, but there's been a lot of delays, and I don't know, it isn't going as well, I think. Not sure. It might be, honestly. But we're not here to talk about Archer. We're here to talk about HOVR. I just like comparing Archer because, well, let's go over a little bit of this stuff right here. Well, you know what? Real quick. Archer, December 2022. And I wanted to show you where they are compared to HOVR, right? So we have 50 million market cap compared to a 500 million market cap. When they both had just one plane, and HOVR is trading at 10x less than Archer, which is crazy when they just both have one plane, no factories, although I will say they did have planned a factory. And they also have some LOIs, but that doesn't mean shit. HOVR also has some LOIs, and we can go over that in a minute. But HOVR does not have any productions to scale, I guess, to have a plant. They do have productions to scale, as they are going to be outsourcing like Archer, which is why I like to compare them to Archer. So Joby is doing vertical integration, a little bit like Tesla. The pros of that: potentially better performing, quieter, faster, and safer aircrafts because they can, control and do everything. They have, the whole vertical integration set up. But that's going to take a lot of time, costs a lot of money, and there's a lot more regulations with that. Versus outsourcing, the pros are you work with established suppliers and lead to faster certification and quicker path to market. Also, I don't know about safer. I think it's pretty damn safe to, outsource, and I don't know, maybe there is a pro to Joby on that, but the con is you limit control over design, performance, and the company is more vulnerable to supply chain issues. I don't think any safety issues though, but supply chain issues, that is, that's fair. But that's why they partnered with companies like MT Propeller, and that was great bullish news, that, they're partnering with them because that's, well, one here, they get low noise, high performance propellers, and they don't have to build it themselves, right? I think Joby, I don't like vertical integration because you're not focused, right? You're working on all the moving parts. Now, about focus, I really like how they run much more like a startup rather than these multi-billion-dollar valuations startups are running. Well, let's say there's a lot of waste probably, okay? Here, the CEO looks at line item by line item. He knows the details of his company. He is probably, he knows everything of what's going on, the tasks of the entire team, right? And he's probably giving them the tasks of what to do. I honestly don't know too much about that, but that's from what I heard. He really looks at line item by line item, and they're very selective. They don't just take pre-orders. They can pick and choose whoever they want to work with, and they've claimed to receive a lot of, not pre-orders, but demand, but they're not selling and taking any pre-orders. The only quote-unquote pre-orders they have is an LOI back in January 2024 from Jet Set Go India, which is just an Indian airliner. They wanted to buy 50 of their cavarets and an option to buy 50 more. So it looks like at $250 million, that means each cavaret will be $5 million. It's pretty damn nice. At a $50 million valuation, I mean, if they sell this, and they get to $250 million, and we're only at a $50 million valuation, something here doesn't make sense. But obviously, they don't have 50 aircrafts yet. They only have one. But this is great news that, they have an LOI. I think they also have some interest from Chile. I may be mistaken there. But the fact that Chile, India, some random other countries are looking at them is pretty bullish and interesting to me. And LOI really doesn't mean much. You know, they're not going to get this 250 and 500 million unless they really execute. The 500 million is based on another 50, so if they deliver 100. However, LOIs just show signal that, you know, people are interested. And I think the only reason they accepted this, because as we said, they don't take pre-orders. The only reason I think they accepted this was January 2024. They were just IPOing to the NASDAQ. Well, not IPOing, they got in the NASDAQ through a SPAC, but that's a whole nother story. It doesn't matter. And obviously the stock, you know, tanked a little bit, but now we're at pretty much a point where I don't know how much lower we can go. I think also the reason the stock was pretty valued highly when it IPO'd was because of this LOI. I think that's why they accepted this LOI. The LOI gives you a little bit of a number of where you should be and could be, right? I don't know if I should get into it. You know what? Let's get into this. This is really cool. All right, I hope I don't lose you. We're sidetracking a little bit, but I don't know if you ever heard of this company, Boom, Supersonic. They do supersonic aviation. They are a new company. They just raised a bunch of money, and I want to show you this. Couldn't search it, but I scrolled down and I found it. It's right here. It's one of the most popular ones. I don't know if you heard of WeFunder, but WeFunder is a platform to invest in companies that are not in the stock market yet. Pretty damn cool. I'm going to just briefly go over that. But all right, so Supersonic, Boom, this company, they're not IPOing yet. Maybe one day when they will, they'll be worth quite a lot. But right now they're already valued at multiple $1 billion. And they went to Y Combinator, Sam Altman and Paul Graham. If you don't know who they are, I'm not going to give you that whole gist, but these are some amazing, very notable investors. Really the most famous that there is and the best ones. Everyone wants to go to them. So the guy goes to them and he has no plane, right? It's all a prototype. How do you go to investors with nothing, right? Obviously, HOVR finally has a prototype where we have something here. But before that, before the test flight in May 15, what I'm trying to say is the reason they took this LOI is to show demand, and so people will, you know, buy into the company, invest. So what did the founder of this company do? He goes to Sam Altman and Paul Graham, or at the time I think it was just Sam Altman. Paul Graham is not as much involved anymore. Anyways, he pitches to them, you know, this plane, and they're like, okay, where's the plane? What, you have nothing, you have no products, you have no factory, how are you going to do this? And all he came in was with a $5 billion LOI from Virgin Galactic, I believe, that he got from Richard Branson somehow. Crazy story, like a day before or hours before the meeting, he got this LOI, and he expected to go to the meeting with absolutely nothing. But because of this $5 billion LOI from Richard Branson, they took him seriously, they invested, and now as you can see, Paul Graham invested himself $10 million. And then that's aside from, I think, the fact that Y Combinator is invested in it. He personally invested in it. Sam Altman did as well. I wish I saw this when it was available, but it is no longer available to invest. Very, very big sidetrack. But I just wanted to share that story because LOIs might not be binding, but they can be very, very powerful. And this right here is a 10x market cap LOI from where we're at, which is just a little bit mind-blowing. Now, if we just look at where Archer was, right? Archer was at $500 million and we're at 50 million. And this line right here sums it up. The momentum is more technical and operational versus Archer's 2022 momentum is more hype, SPAC buzz, and then United strategic partnerships that they still have yet to deliver United some legit planes to fly. And, you know, and HOVR is beyond where Archer is in 2022, yet at a tenth of the cost. So for many reasons, I'm extremely bullish on this company. As you can see, I hold, you know, I honestly should be buying more, but I hold about 6,000 plus shares, and I'll just be growing my position as this company is growing. Now, let's just go over a little bit here. So how are they a little bit different? So first of all, they're focusing on regional transport, emergency services, and military clients. This is kind of boring stuff, okay? I think the reason Joby and Archer really kind of shine is because they're focusing on like flying cars, on flying you and me and Ubering around the city, right? This is like cool to us. This is like, you know, we know it obviously is needed, but people overlook things like emergency response, military, and regional transportation. I think this is the biggest here. I'm not going to go too much into this. I actually kind of spoke about this in a past video, which you should check that one out, about eVTOLs as an industry as a whole. But the big thing here is there's four. Autonomy is much later, but there's four sectors the government's going to be focusing on. Air mobility, which is the most popular that we know, which Archer and Joby fall in. But then we have the medical, cargo, and rural. HOVR is really lined up to be like one of the best performance for those three. Rural is my favorite that they're lined up to be. As you can see, I put them number one, and we have Beta at number one for medical and cargo. Beta is not public, very interesting company. XTIA, as you can see I have here also, XTIA is public actually, and I should make a whole nother video on that. I actually really like XTIA, but I'm much more bullish on HOVR, and I really don't think HOVR is going back to the 50 cents. If we do, honestly, I'll just be buying more, because everything I'm seeing just doesn't make sense that this company is going to die. The only thing the only really bearish signal I got here is that in September of 2022, we can see here, Lilium has also achieved a big milestone for flying. And Lilium, as you may know, is gone. So that is the only really kind of unfortunate thing that I don't like to see. However, if you just look at this chart plainly, we see here Airbus, Archer, Lilium, Horizon, and Joby, literally a week ago, 4 days ago, oh no, not Joby, Archer was that flew in Abu Dhabi, but Joby just 2025 tests in Dubai. They also just flown recently, I don't remember when that was. And these companies are worth multi-billions. Airbus, we're not even going to compare, because obviously they're not just doing eVTOLs. But Lilium obviously failed. But it's just crazy that we have companies like Eve. What is Eve's market cap? Market cap, 2.16 billion, okay? And I have not seen they have not yet flown an eVTOL. What other companies? We have EHang, okay? EHang is in China, but 1.2 billion, okay? All these crazy companies. eVTOL, market cap, vertical aerospace. What is theirs? Let's just briefly look. Last one. We're sitting at above a $600 million market cap, and they have also not flown. It just blows me away that we have a company here sitting at a 50 million market cap, competing with all these large players, and they're the only ones who have really kind of successfully done what the industry is supposed to do. Archer and Joby obviously are also kind of taking the right paths and doing things right, but they're already worth a lot. So it's just crazy to me. I think Horizon is really a big underdog in this field, and I really like this company. So yeah, I just wanted to record this to go over pretty much all of that and why I really am very bullish on this company. I'll be holding my stock for a long time. As you can see, Archer went from 2022 to now, and we about 10x'd from there, from a $500 million market cap to about over $5 billion today. Yet they still have no real production, flying cars, flying people. They're also taking a much harder route, right? They're trying to do flight paths and actually control, they're trying to be the airliner, right? I think I mentioned it here. Where is it? Whereas HOVR is actually selling and leasing aircrafts. They're going to be more like Boeing and Airbus, not like United. Whereas although Archer is selling to United, they're also, it seems like they're kind of going to be working hand in hand with United in flight paths and actually just Ubering people versus leasing the aircrafts to a company like United, and United can do whatever they want, set up their own flight paths, do their own logistics, all that. HOVR is just very focused, and they run very lean. They're not wasting money, and they actually have potential to get some grants and some non-dilutive investments, which is great, but that's a whole nother story. I just wanted to wrap up and kind of give the whole picture here that, wow, HOVR is super low compared to everyone else in the industry. Now, do your own due diligence. This can obviously go to zero just like Lilium, but from everything I see, I really like how the company operates and where they're at. So it's great. The only thing I will mention is this wing-in design This fan wing inside the propeller, it's new, it's novel, it isn't fully proven to be the right solution. And so, maybe this could all be a big bust. I will say also, as of right now, I personally would not put myself in one of these. It looks a little flimsy, but look how cool it is when it closes. The fans close and it looks just like a real plane. It looks more like a flying car. And maybe you're not going to be flying this in the cities, but I would love to probably like own one of these, live far away. You can have like a mansion in the suburbs rather than an apartment in the city, and you could just fly to the city. That's the real big picture with this rural mobility aspect of it that I like. But there's also a lot of other aspects, which, let's just briefly go on their website. That's New Horizon. I already went over this in my past videos, but if you're just watching for the first time, what really sets them apart, first of all, 6 people, 6 passengers. Almost no other eVTOL does that. And it can go faster than most eVTOLs, carry more weight, and go further, okay? 800 kilometers, 500 miles. And it can carry about 1,500 pounds, I believe, which most competitors cannot. Here it compares to Joby and Lily. But yeah, this company is better in many ways. They're more advanced. They're just better than the competition. The fact that they're hybrid and not electric is just huge because they can go farther. They can be more efficient and whatever. We went over all of the stuff. This is already a 20-minute video, so I'm gonna leave it at that. This is just, I'm so excited for the future of this company, and I hope you are too. Let me know your thoughts down below, and until next time, stay thinking, question everything, and peace the fuck out.